Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Autopsy with Maddee P. I'm your host, Maddee P. Girl. What is cracking, queen? I bet you look good as shit today, don't you? Period. I'm excited for today. What did we talk about last week? Anxiety. My anxiety. It was actually really fun to film that and depressing. I've overcome my anxiety by leaps and bounds. So if you need any help, hit that last episode up, girls. Today, what's going on? What's going on, Maddie? Well, okay, I guess we could start by saying, Maddie, why does your hair look so amazing? I don't know. Yes, I do. I got it done, girl. Do you like it? I feel like a woman. That's what's like happening to me. I'm hitting this precipice where like I'm a woman for real. I was a girl. I have no hesitation. I'm a woman. I made a home of thine self, and I look popping as fuck. Okay. My woman body is skintier, so we're trying to work on the boot. I know. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Why'd you bring that shit up? That was rude, actually, a little bit, honestly. But anyways, yeah, hair is slaying. Oh, and I did, for you guys, you can't really see this, but I fixed up the wall, okay? We got the autopsy sign, that jank-ass shit. It's a little crooked, but I'm a little crooked, so that's okay. Let me just fix that up. And we've got some new pictures up here, okay, that don't have, one of them actually still does have a little bit of liquor on it. But who am I without liquor? Am I right? It's a past. It's a story of myself that I will never get tired of telling. So it's on my wall. Now, what are we here for today? It's actually feels kind of weird to me because we are here because I am a year sober. But the year sober is next week, so I'm prematurely filming this, and I'm like knocking on every piece of wood I've ever seen in my life because we still have a week. But I'm a year sober, guys. I'll give you a moment to applaud. Thank you. So today is going to be super fun. Okay. I don't really have too much warm-ups, but of course I always say that, and then we're sitting here for 20 minutes. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm kind of doing like almost like a Q&A style today, except for I'm asking myself these questions. Okay. And ChatGPT is too. Now, and I feel like I was going to be like, wow, I want to get whoa. Hey, can I talk? What the fuck? Sorry, guys. It's 9:38 in the morning. Anyone who knows me knows I am not up at 9:38 because thine work keeps me up late. Why am I saying thine? The fuck? Is this Bible camp? I didn't know I signed up for Bible camp today. So we're doing a Q&A style, okay, that I asked myself that things of reflecting on my year sober. We'll get into it. But first, wait, I'm so sorry. I just totally forgot what I was saying a minute ago. What I was saying was some things to let you guys get to know me a little better, even though honestly, like, you're my best friend. So I feel like you know me pretty well at this point and all my deep, dark pits. But I wanted to keep it a little light today in terms of you getting to know me. Now, what has happened since I've seen you? Besides looking voluptuous with the hair, girl. Voluptuous has been a key word this week. If you don't know my sister, she's voluptuous. And I think it's typically coming up around her for some reason, but it's been a key word. So the hair is voluptuous at least, okay? I'm also gaining abs, ? Girl, okay, so this summer, I've been on my routine on that shit. And y'all remember at the beginning of the summer, I was like, can I sustain this through the part of the year I'm supposed to have fun? Can I continue this discipline? Can I save my life again? Sure can. Sure fucking can, because it's August, bitch, and I feel great. And every day I have been doing this Alexis Rin ab workout. If you don't know Alexis Rin, get on. Get the fuck on. Seriously, you got some Googling to do. And if you do know Alexis Rin, of course you do, because you're an angel and you're perfect. And why would you not? And Alexis Rin was that girl back in the day, okay? I remember her waist on slimmer, girl. Her waist was on slimmer. And I remember looking at her and being like, oh, she definitely was the spark of thousands of girls' eating disorders. She was the spark of it. I can't lie. She started a revolution of eating disorder, but we look good as fuck. So, no, I'm kidding. If you need help with food, there's some episodes on that. Feed yourself. That is what womanhood has looked like for me. I feed the shit out of myself. Okay? It is whole foods. It is vegetables. We talking protein. But she's fed. We don't play that little girl shit anymore. We are fed around these parts. Now, I've been doing that workout every single day. It's 10 minutes before work. I'm on the floor with Ellie, and she's like, girl, what are we doing over here? And I'm just working out. And working out, term used loosely. It has given me, I'm not kidding, abs. And you know what I think it is? I think she got it from being a ballerina. So like she probably had some like Russian bitchy crazy teacher that like caused her to starve herself but like work out really hard. And I think she brought her like ballet shit to the table because the obliques are hitting, girl. And the focus is on the waist getting slimmer. And, you know, my bag's looking good. Anyways, sorry, enough of toot my own horn, y'all. Is it ever enough of tooting my own horn? I'm starting to think not. Now, what did I see yesterday? Oh, I know what you did last summer. I was super excited about this. Who wrote that? A plastic bag? Like, honestly, a plastic bag wrote that movie. Genuinely. The plot had so many holes, I thought I was looking at a piece of Swiss cheese. Sorry, the talking is hard this early in the morning for me, okay? Damn, okay? But yeah, that plot was rough, okay? But what I was not expecting, I tried to watch Outer Banks. Wasn't really my jam. I think it's for like kids. I'm 25. So it's just like, girl, I'm watching docuseries in the Kardashians and like, I'm back on my Emma McDonald grind. Emma Pritchard now, if you will, on YouTube. Been trying to take down the screen time. But I wasn't an Outer Banks girl. Madeline Klein is a great actress. She was the best actress on that movie. I'm not kidding. And Teddy was hot as shit. When something happened to him, I'll edit that part out. When something happened to him, I was like, the hot guy? Really? Because honestly, they were all eye candy. So I think that's what makes a movie nowadays. You got to be hot and you can't get canceled. And you got to have some type of lesbianism in there. And they did have the lesbianism. They brought that fire. So the movie I would give total like literally a 4 out of 10. And y'all know I'm a horror movie girl. Like boots down through horror movie girl. Okay. If anyone's a critic on that shit, it's me. I'm not into the thrasher things. And my bestie last night, he made me aware of that. My sweet little Rob, he's like, babe, I think you just like demon movies. And that's true. And I told him, I think it comes from the fact that I already think I'm going to be kidnapped. I used to have dreams, y'all. When I was younger, I had this reoccurring dream that I was like behind a dumpster. I'm not kidding. And I think every girl, especially this day and age, has got something around that. Like, I just for some reason think I'm going to go that way. I don't now, okay? I keep that thing on me. And by that thing, I mean my taser, girl. So nobody's kidnapping me. Period. I don't know what you think you're doing here. I'm about to whoop your ass. Brings me to another point. I'm going to, I think, get into a little bit of self-defense. Little taekwondo action. Okay, Karate Kid. Get into it. I don't know why I'm talking like this. You guys having fun? I'm actually kind of having fun right now. So, that's how I felt about that. Moving on. Went to Target. The Target last night. Does anyone else have millennial aunts that call it Target? So now you call it Target? Because I love my millennial aunts. They're fucking so hot. They're so cool. And I always thought that way growing up. I'm like, oh, so cool. And they were always like, Target girl. And you know, my poor ass is a Walmart girl growing up. I was a Walmart baby, okay? We're being so for real. Rural South Carolina Walmart baby, okay? We didn't even have a good Target. That shit is like, it was frumpy. She was frumpy, okay? And I was in the Target, and how come I'm walking to the back and there's Halloween stuff up? You heard it. And I never thought I'd be so ready for a season to change. I said that before, and it has something to do with this heat. Y'all need to close your mouths because your breath is hot. Yeah. And it's polluting the air. Honestly. That was mean. I'm sure you smell great. Anyways, I'm really excited. But I'm like in my back to school era. Okay. I'm a full blown adult. I'm not in school. I will be going to school. Pick a topic, Maddie. Pick a topic and stay on that topic, okay? And I just am embracing pretending that I'm going to school this year. So, like, getting my shit together. I woke up early today. I've got my schedule set. I've got some new pens, a couple new notebooks. Ugh. Who doesn't, like, love buying some new school products? Hand me that notebook right now. Hand me a fresh pen and let me put my name and which class I'm using that notebook for. And then you got to decide what class you're using which notebook for. That was the best. That was the best. They have even better folders nowadays than they used to, honestly. I was tempted to buy a backpack, but I'm not that crazy. I am that crazy, but I didn't. Okay. So I'm encouraging you, I think, to embrace this back to school season. Because I feel like it does something to your brain that you need. And it's a good entry of in between like, hey, do you remember the seasons, Maddie? Between summer and fall. Because I also feel like that time is very painful for people. Obviously, seasonal depression, things like that. Do you want to talk about that someday? Because we could talk about that shit one day. My mom also brought it to my attention that I'm cussing a lot. But I brought it to my own attention that I don't care. So. And honestly, I posted TikTok about this. If you don't follow me on TikTok, you should. Leave your sanity at Bilo is my TikTok. Don't ask why. I don't know. I left my sanity at Bilo that day. Haven't found it since. I have found it. That's a trick question. I did find my sanity. And I was talking about how, you know, the further I get into sobriety and into this new blossoming womanhood, I get to be myself. And that involves me being a little vulgar. I have simmered it down like from time to time. Okay. I understand it's not like the best way to represent yourself, but I also think some of that is misogynistic. Because in a professional state, yeah, sure. Right. I get it. I understand. But men are out here cussing like that and nobody's telling them to be a lady. And I do take a little bit behind being a lady as a Southern Belle. It's ingrained in me. Do y'all want to know a fun fact about me? You do? Okay. Sorry, I think I just glitched. Because I couldn't remember the name. Cotillion. I went to Cotillion. That's a truth. That's a truth. You know, nothing could have saved me. Not even the Cotillion girls. Not even the competition. Honestly. And competition usually shakes me my boots. I usually can get up and get going with the competition. And I'm thinking back right now to this dress that I had. This is so irrelevant. But I had this dress that this woman made for me. And it was blue, navy blue. Blue's always been my color. Thank you. And I'm just thinking about it now. And it was silk. And it was beautiful. Was that silk? I think it was silk. And it was just like sleek. And that's what I'm getting into with my womanhood. The sleekness of shit. You see, I don't still have the nails. That's because I broke one. Cutting lemons. That shit hurted. Like literally so bad. I'm definitely injured. I'm filing workers' comp. Yep, I sure am. And yeah, so when I go back to the nails though, because who am I without my nails? Let's be real. And I think that's a fun way to stay young is like nails and certain aspects of clothing and like, of course, demeanor. Right? But I think when I go back, I'm going to keep it short, keep it sleek. I just feel like it's that time in my life. But I'm always going to get me a little nail design. Okay? I'm thinking about getting Ellie on my neck nails. Is that neck nails? Is that too much? My neck does not have nails. Okay. I think that's really all the updates I have for you. I'm excited for Halloween. There's a bug in my light. I'm not talking about bugs today because they're gone. Update. No flies. Oh my God. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord, girl. I was losing my mind. Y'all saw it. You saw it. You literally watched me lose my mind. So we don't have to talk about it. Now, I also already knew what I was going to be for Halloween last year. And Halloween is my day. More important than my birthday. I do love my birthday. Don't get it twisted. But sorry, this coffee's getting gotta give her a little stir. I already knew what I was going to be last year. My outfit, you know, when Rihanna is like, you can't touch my outfit. Like the way she says it. Ugh. Outfit. Wig. Last year, I was a woods witch man-eater situation. Inspired loosely on Yellow Jackets, but not quite, because Yellow Jackets was okay. It was whoever's in our filmmaking category, I should have done that shit, because the Gen Z are coming up and that's their job now, and they're not making that cut. Not making the cut. The fact that, and I can't talk about the movie last night because y'all are probably going to watch it. You should go see it. It's just like too worried about trigger warning or something. Like, we need intensity. Bring me the fire. Like, I want to be absolutely terrorized. I want that memory burned in my head from that movie. And it's just not happening time and time again. Yellow Jackets was that way too. Like, this kind of sucks. Hey, so this is trash. Anyways, costume was loosely based on that. Because I just hit my funny bone. I just hit my funny bone. The antlers. the antler situation and the in the woods thing, because we already talked about last week, my favorite Gothic is Southern Gothic. Love me a good woods Gothic too. I just realized, how often do I talk about horror movies and stuff? Is it too much? Don't care. Don't answer that, actually. So yeah. And I don't know what I'm going to be at this year. And I already knew last year. I don't know. I think it's just going to hit me because it's a whole persona. And I dress up like in the morning. Throughout the day, I'm Halloween-ed. Consider me weenied throughout the entire day. I don't care if it's embarrassing. I don't care about your mama. And I don't care about your kids. Okay? Go ahead and hide them because I'm coming out to play. It's an important day of the year. Now, why am I like that? I don't know why I'm like that. Are other people like that? Am I scaring you? Probably. We'll start with a little bit of you getting to know me better. Which, again, after all the things I say on here, you're the bestie. So you probably know these things. First of all, what's my favorite color? Wait. That's so dumb. Actually, I was always a purple girl. Okay, my whole life I was a purple girl. It's always been that way. And I feel like when we were little, you had to choose between purple or pink. And other people look at me like I'm delusional for saying that. But there was a choice that had to be made. You were a purple girl, you were a pink girl. Was like, y'all didn't go through that identity crisis? And maybe that's because I have an identity problem. And that was my first identity crisis, purple or pink girl. My sister was a Carolina blue girl. Mia Hamhead, if you're watching. And I went with purple. It was just, there's always a little darkness looming, maybe, potentially. And I just knew, like, pink gives me perfect, right? Like, if somebody says their favorite color is pink, I'm like, oh, she's perfect. There's just a bit of perfection. Like, they've already hit their sleek era. They're not debating still getting design on their nail at 25. So, not that there's anything wrong with that. But, like, you know, there's just two different types of girls. And those girls are past that. And, like, they're not wearing a shirt with the horses on it right now, you know? Because pink is an amazing color. Pink is literally one of the best colors ever. I do love me some pink. And I can't say black. But I genuinely think black might be my favorite color. Okay, why? Yeah, this was dumb. We're not doing this. Favorite food? I don't know. Chocolate. Chocolate girl. I'm a chocolate girl, I think, in my heart of hearts. You know, and I think that's just like, food is just great. And there's so many. How could I choose one? This feels dumb, but like each question is kind of getting more fun, but I'm coming up with the questions. So I don't know. Favorite animal. I go through phases with this. As an animal girl, did you guys see that blank stare? As an animal girl, I'm not an animal mixed with a girl. I just love animals and I am a girl. And I've always loved animals since the moment that I could gain curiosity. Animals have been my shit. I love those motherfuckers. Okay. And I used to hate when somebody would cliche and be like, a dog. My favorite animal is a dog. Yeah, no shit. That doesn't count as an answer. Right now it's stingrays. Manta rays, more so. But I can get behind any ray. Skate to me is more of a food for bigger, cooler sharks. So are stingrays, but like the shape, you're just like, that's prey. Like, that's a prey. Yeah, that's prey. Versus a manta ray is just like its own thing. And I have a manta ray tattooed right here. I'm in my manta ray era. It used to always be a blue marlin. Why blue marlin? I don't know. Wasn't really into the black marlins. That wasn't what it sounded like. That was dumb and I'm leaving that in. Okay. Now, that was all the questions I'm going to ask myself because that was the dumbest warm-up I've ever had in my life. And I've had a lot of stupid ass warm-ups. Let's see how many minutes. 20. 20? Okay, let's get into it, girl. Today, I am 1 year sober. Technically in a week, but I feel a year sober. So I'm just going to kind of bounce around. We're going to do some main questions, but basically I'm going to talk about my life being sober for a year. And I think one of the most important things I want you to take away too is that a year in anything is going to absolutely transform your life. And I feel like we're at a pivotal age, at least myself. I don't know what your age is, but any age. This is any age, but there's just like these pivotal coming into adulthood years. And I think taking a year to really hone in on a craft or focus on something. And I don't mean it necessarily, of course, hone in on your craft or based on what you do, like lock in with, for example, I do the podcast or your job or career or whatever you like to do. But this is more locking in emotional aspects that are going to take you really far in your life. Tools that you need to have that you might not have. And there are so many podcasts you can go listen to that about, so many episodes. Thank you, girl. But I just think locking in for a year is so pivotal and it's just the best decision I've ever made. And I remember, I've said this before, looking at people around me and being like, you're too old to be doing this shit. Genuinely knowing that as an addict, as an alcoholic, I'm like, you're too old to be doing this shit. And I hit an age where I was just like, I actually can't be like this. This like isn't allowed in society. Like this is ridiculous. I cannot be like this. That age is 24. And so I just want you to use this as fuel to encourage you in whatever space of your life that you would like to grow, blossom, and succeed because you're worth it. And a year is such a long time. To me, it doesn't feel that way anymore, kind of. And I think when people get old, it's like a minute, and things are just like, especially when you got kids and shit. So this is when our years are much more valuable. The year is to us and it belongs to us and our time belongs to us. And it's just like such a valuable situation. And time is so valuable right now and it sets you up for the rest of your life. And I feel like that's a really good outlook to have in alcohol and addiction, but in anyone. I lied. It was one. I don't even think that was a fruit fly. Okay. They've been exterminated. I'm distracted. I'm always distracted. Stop looking at me like that. That's rude. I know. And I know a big driving factor for me is not looking back at my life and being like, damn, I should have worked harder. That is something I refuse to have now. It's like the hard work was there. This was there. Anything that's not in place that I didn't get or whatever was just something that was out of my control. Everything that can be in my control needs to be firmly in this grasp and in my control and under control. Okay? I'm not becoming a control freak. Obviously, being sober for a year is the best decision I've ever made my entire life. Now, I'm not sober for just a year. I'm sober, and I saw Theo Vaughn talking about this, and I thought it was a great way to put it, that, I can't make the decision for my future. I can't make these decisions for a future Maddie I haven't met or some grief she hasn't gone through, some trauma she hasn't gone through. I can't make these decisions for her. But what I can hope is the foundation that I'm laying allows her to make that decision easier when it becomes game time and she's a little lost. And she's like, I'm more comfortable leaning back on the discipline, leaning back on those values and that shit I set up for myself than I am failing right now. I'm more comfortable in it. Blessings. That is a huge blessing to be more comfortable in the work you've done than the work you have to do, to be honest. And I think it's a good way to look at it too. If even if you don't have a problem or if you're on the fence of having a problem, taking a year, and it sounds so daunting, it sounds so long, but by the end of the year, you're just so full of love and of yourself, of your energy and of your light. And that's something that, and I always say it, something that people can't pay money for. That's something you cannot pay for. To be rejuvenated in this way and understood in this way is just next level shit, period. And I think it's a great age to take, loud noises, to take a year of sobriety, I think too. I think everyone needs it to some degree because we don't realize the way that alcohol is suffocating us. There's plenty of episodes on that. You can go watch it. And I'm talking about people that are normies too, not even people with necessarily a problem. Now, as we know, I'm part of the program. Yes. What do we have with the program, y'all? Anonymity. Thank you. We don't talk about the program. Thank you. Why? So everyone's safe and they can come as they are. Thank you. Just like this podcast. People walking around outside. Now, if we're being honest, that's what did it for me. We're going to get into so many things of what did it for me and this and that and the other. But what truly did it for me was being in AA and being in the program and other women, people in the rooms, people I've met along the way, people that have come in collision with my path. They have saved me. Each person that has stopped and been vulnerable with me and given me the time of day, that is who has saved me. People that were gentle with me and kind with me. And I saved myself too. I sure did. Sorry. Getting into sobriety, there is an episode on my story. If you want to go see why, how initially, what really turned my flip and made that decision making, The first episode talks about that, so you can go watch that. But as soon as I flipped into sobriety, we're talking about progress today. As soon as thank you. As soon as we flipped into sobriety, I hit something called 90-90, which is 90 meetings in 90 days. That was the best decision that I could possibly have made for myself. Enveloping my entire life into this one decision of saying no to alcohol daily. And whatever it took daily, not as a whole, not looking at timelines, at that day, making it through, not having to consume alcohol, having to at that point. Because it's sad that became a chore in my life. Because I had to. I was sick and suffering. Thank you. I just hear like burp. I hear these like applauds. Sometimes I'm like, thank you. And so when I do that, that's like kind of what I'm doing. I'm like in my brain, it's like, haha, like it's like not really an applause, a dumb applause, like meme ass applause. Like, and what is it called? Oh my God. Sarcastic. A sarcastic applause is what I'm hearing in my head. It's a daily decision. The only decision that I had to make myself make was to stay away from alcohol. That was my decision, and that was what the day was going to look like. Of course, healing gets into this. That comes with the program. That comes with making sure that I stay on 10 in who I am. But most importantly, that 90 days set me up for zero rolling over. There is no breaks. There is no sip of alcohol that occurs. It is complete abstinence. There's no sips. There's no whatever. There's huge romanticizing, and there's a lot of pain that goes behind that. Saying no daily, but you deserve that. 100%. And I think it builds in people this discipline and this understanding when you're just trying to make it through daily. And it's just this commitment. I think what it is too, really, and that's what I needed, was a commitment fully to myself that I had never made before. And a lot of people don't, and they don't realize that's something they're missing in their life. You make commitments to other people, to your jobs, to whatever it is. You might even make a commitment to your future, but that's kind of in regard of how society views you. You're doing that because you know you can't fail and it's not really an option, and then you suck and your parents hate you or whatever it is. This is a commitment to who you are daily, and to yourself and your relationship within yourself. That's a difference in the commitment. And that was something I had never experienced, and something that I will continue to fight for and look after for my entire life, is that commitment to myself. And it's like almost like this marriage in a way of you being married to the ideals of yourself, and that you're not going to turn your back on her, and you're not going to fuck her. And you're not going to turn around and go drink liquor because you're upset. You're going to stick to your commitment. And finally, for once in your life, have this responsibility. Because that's the first real sense of responsibility I ever felt, aside from loving and caring for my sister. The first true responsibility was not drinking. That was my responsibility, only my responsibility. And that was something that I could only control. It's my mouth and it's my hand to put liquor inside of it. And I fully understood that. And I think that commitment really sparked my growth in many a field to come. And then, of course, blossoming into those commitments with my mental health. There was an episode last week. We'll continue to talk about mental health, because that's what this podcast is. Yes, it's sobriety in some ways, but this is about mental health. That's what I care about. And that's what you should care about. And those commitments would follow me later into my healing and to who I am, and these sorry ass ideals I had of myself and of life that were not real and that were sad and just depressing as fuck. Yeah, thank you. So anyways, I think 90 and 90, if you're looking to get into sobriety, or if you're maybe even a normie and you're looking for some structure in your life, taking 90 days it's almost like a 75 hard in a way for addicts, though. I'm trying to relate this to people who might be more normie on the normie scale. That, take that 90 days and make that full commitment to yourself, and learn what it means to make a commitment to yourself. Because when you fail yourself, before that was never an issue for me. Failing myself was not an issue that I had, but now failing myself to that degree is like, so, like I do not like to fail myself. And that is something that I really haven't quite done. There have been a few, we trip and we fall sometimes, but we get the fuck back up. So that's why I consider it not a failure, because each time, what that shit grows in me, I get the fuck back up. I trip, I fall, I get the fuck back up. And that's what the commitment is. It's following through even when we get dragged down, following through with that shit. So that's what 90-90 did for me, and that's how my sobriety started. And I think too, what really helped me And I'm not going to do this because I make episodes on this. You've watched my journey. That's what this podcast is about. It was about you watching my journey into becoming who I am today and who I will continue to be and continue to grow into. So, I'm not necessarily going to break down each part of my sobriety, like what was great, what, we'll go through like kind of questionnaires. I guess in a way I wanted to keep things fun and light. It's my year, guys. I want to have fun. I don't want to like get dragged to the pits of what used to be. Okay. I'm reminded of her. Don't worry. But the urgency I think was really important for me, and this understanding that this has to be everything for me or it's nothing. And there are episodes on that too, but just the factor of this being everything in my life, of sobriety, of getting clean, of not drinking anymore, being the most important thing that would ever happen to me. And I understood that from that jump, and making this commitment and this decision to change my life in this way comes with some urgency, because it truly is it was a life or death decision for me. Might not be for you, but it should feel that way, because it's a life or death decision if you succeed, if you change your neural pathways within your mind and your mental health too. This is the type of shit that is life or death. And it's really important to look at these years and this time is that way when growing, because I think society is so focused on building your career and building all this shit. And that's important, but it's way more important to build who you are. And we're just completely skipping that step because we're following the millennials who followed the boomers, and like this whole rat race thing that exists and is part of society. And it's something we adhere to here, right? Because, and I touch all that because, and not that I touch all that, I don't mean to sound like that, but it's important to remember that that's the way that life functions, and we fit into life. We have to be small. That is something that we do here. We fit into life. That's not an option. We don't just say time's not real. We don't say concepts aren't real. We don't say that the rat race, and we don't say bills aren't real. Money's not real. That's not how life works. But finding yourself, I think, has been so lost upon us in this like really sad way, where we have almost fooled ourselves as a society. Sorry, that was kind of embarrassing. I talk faster than my brain can work. As a society, into believing that career does come first, and that is what building is at this age. And I think it's important to work your fucking ass off. You watch me do it. It's important to work your fucking ass off. That is one of the most, to me, that is a beautiful gift also of being an American. But don't worry, y'all. I hate Trump. We all know that. But there's like being an American is this opportunity thing. And I think I look at also taking opportunities as they are. So for example, the reason I'm going back to school, a lot of it has to do with the fact that women die across the world for that opportunity. And same, like, we're in this country where we have freedom. Yes, we're going through all this shit. Yes, it sucks, but like there are people dying elsewhere, seriously, daily. And we get this opportunity to work really hard. And as women, I think it's important to be individuals, and that we have this opportunity to support ourselves if we want. There are women out there, and I planned this for my life, that maybe one day, if I had to, I get to go pay to have my own kid. Whether that's I do adoption or I get an egg put in me or whatever the situation is, when that time comes for me, that's something I built for myself. I've got my bank accounts. I've got my car. I've got my own home. I've got all these things. And that is an opportunity women don't have. And I wish that we would take that shit so much more seriously, because that's the importance in hard work. It's not because millennials and other people told us to. It's because we owe that to the world too. And so many women across the world. And that is just something in me that I recognized one day that helped me fit into the rat race that was difficult for me. It was hard for me to become an adult and to get into adulthood. And I encourage you to kind of flip your view on that if you also struggle like I do, because it's so much more than being what your parents want. And it's so much more than being what even you want or what society wants. It's about, sorry, people are still walking. It's about service, almost, in a way. It's about what we owe to this world, and what we owe is taking opportunities that are granted to us that are not granted to other people. Because I couldn't imagine looking somebody in the face where I just said fuck it to an opportunity. I didn't care about it. I didn't care about becoming an individual. I'd rather do what my husband says. Like, fuck that. If there's a girl in my face, I want to be able to tell her I fought. I did my shit. I did my big one. And I had you in mind while I was doing that shit. I'm going on tangents today, but that's okay because it's my 1 year and we're talking about whatever. Okay? We're talking about whatever. I just think that the urgency, what I was talking about is kind of like the urgency and understanding the importance of being me in a really strong manner. And of fighting vigorously day in and day out for my sobriety. Honestly, at times where it felt really dark, really damning, and really difficult, because I've expressed this before, especially getting into early sobriety. It was just a new type of prison. I was in this prison before where I had to drink all the time, had to do drugs to stay alive, essentially. And then it flipped to this prison of my mind of not being able to do that. And it just felt like these two different prisons. And I knew that I needed to be granted freedom, but you have to work to be rewarded freedom. You know, and I've said before, they say happiness is just there and it's something you have to look for. And I part with that, and I've said that before, but now that like I've grown almost in a way, I think it's something that you have to work for too. I think same with freedom. These are things that, you know, we have to work to see, but it's worth every ounce of that work and every ounce of that effort, because I don't live in the dichotomy of the two prisons. Because sometimes sobriety can just be a different prison. And I don't mean that to deter you. It's just a fact of life, especially in my early sobriety. I'm still in early sobriety. I'm only a year sober, but still like in my really baby early phases. And this was something that I fell into. I wanted to grow and I wanted to change. And, you know, I was finally exposed to my disease. And it is a disease. I was exposed to the fact that my brain does not operate the same as other people. And that was what was wrong. You know, and there's other stuff wrong with me. But a huge part of what was wrong with me was being an alcoholic. And you know, recognizing that and seeing that and the urgency for what it was saved my life. And fighting for that relationship with alcohol. Thank you. And another thing I wanted to emphasize was I checked in after 30 days, after 60 days, after 90 days. Girl, what is I think it's because I'm not used to talking for like an hour at a time. So the drainage, girl, I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm disgusting. I'm sorry. But checking in even at like a month at a time and assessing, most importantly, I think it was of course assessing, you know, the work I had done, what I felt about alcohol, all of these things. But the most important thing was assessing what I had still yet to learn that I thought I understood. And I don't know, like to break that down, I guess I'm learning ideas like humility, like kindness, like service, all of these things that I'm learning. And I'm like, am I really like observing myself fully and in this omniscient way? And that's something that you have to build in a relationship with yourself. This omniscient way that doesn't feel like you're slighting yourself or hurting yourself. It's just an honest critique. It's an honest review. And being able to do that is a gift that I need in my life because I'm awfully sensitive. She's awfully sensitive. And I have to get away from being sensitive too. I have an episode upcoming on that. Okay. It's about all that shit. Okay. But, learning to critique myself in this omniscient way where, you know, I am growing and I have a full understanding of that. And I have this definitely a pride in that, in my growth. But in some ways, what am I saying I am that I'm not? And I think that was a huge part of me getting into sobriety too, was, you know, I say I'm kind, I say I'm collected, I say I'm all these things, but I'm not. I'm not looking after others. I'm selfish. Everything is in my best interest. And one day I just kind of awoke to that and realized that while I was still drinking. And was just like, wait, I'm fucked. I'm selfish as fuck. And I think that was a gift. That was an absolute blessing for me. And it takes so much to see selfishness. It's so difficult. And that's why we have patience with people. I have patience with people all the time that exhibit those symptoms, I guess, in a way, because that is such a hard thing to see. And you have to shake so much ego to understand your selfishness and to see it for what it is. And that's something that follows us. I face selfishness sometimes. Now it's a lot less, but it reoccurs. And I have to catch myself going, no, I'm helping others, or no, this is not about me. This life is not about me. All this shit is not about me. And it needs to be that way. And I have to catch myself. But that's what reprogramming your brain looks like, is now I've set myself up to this place where I can see it and I can allow myself some space to be like, you're getting too human. Like your ego's getting a little too human. And you know, you're in control of that. And that's something that where your sickness rests. That's where your disease rests, is in that selfishness. And I have to stay really far away from that, because then I start to exhibit these symptoms and these things, and I'm not acting the same. I'm not being the same. Isn't it crazy? I think I want somebody to research me. Like, I really want somebody to watch these podcasts and be like, I need to be diagnosed on whatever the fuck that is, where I just literally am just like, what was I talking about? I was literally in the middle of speaking. They need to come up with a different medication for ADHD that's not Adderall and not a DOC for me, because I can never take Adderall in my life. It's a DOC. That's me relapsing. But I got I got to get a handle on this, at least while I'm filming, because what the fuck? Oh, guys. You guys. Anyways, building those ideals for yourself. I don't even think that's what I was saying. I love you if you watch this. Thank you for sticking around and dealing with me and just letting things fly, because what the fuck? Oh, I was checking in. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. And then when I feed the beast of forgetting, it gets worse. Like if I'm like, you forgot, and then I feed the beast, it's like I get even more off track. So I fed the beast. Okay. And here we are. Can't even lie. I can't even try to pretend that I didn't just forget. Anyways, 30, 60, 90 days. So assessing, that's what I was talking about. It all comes back around. Okay. I remember now. That was scary. That was a scary watch. That was a cringy watch. I'm sorry if I just gave you secondhand embarrassment. And recognizing in an omniscient way your relationships with yourself. And that's what the third, like really recapping, that's what that gave me. And when I first got into sobriety too, I would do this on a nightly basis. Some people said it's not healthy. I think I've talked about it before on here in some of the earlier episodes, that I would sit and I would look at my day and I would say, what did I do right? Where did I carry the program into all my affairs? Where did I carry these teachings into all my affairs? And where did I fall short? Because I'm going to fall short for the rest of my life. It's not easy. I'm not sitting here a saint. If you knew me in real life, I'm not a saint. I try my damnedest. I'm not a saint because it's not naturally who I am. It is becoming now, finally, a little bit naturally who I'm becoming, but it's not natural for me. So I'm going to fail. I'm not going to hit that mark, but I'm going to hold myself to that mark. And that's the most important part. That's all I can ask for. And some people say, taking an inventory, we call in the program, we call it an inventory. So taking these daily inventories, taking them at night for some people was too overwhelming, too much. And so I don't want to encourage that. If you're somebody that's still facing a good bit of anxiety or you're struggling to sleep, things like that, it might not be beneficial for you. But for me at that time, because I work at night, so I was just like, then when am I going to do it? And I was able to sleep because I knew I was making progress. And that was in some way, I think, a divine timing moments in relationships in myself where I could separate this progress that I'm making. I can separate the fact that this is work and this is diligence and this is discipline versus I'm beating myself up for this. This is learning. And this was a critique that I finally was understanding for myself, and it was remaining coachable, which is an aspect I brought into my sobriety that was really pivotal for me and super important. And I encourage you to do as well. It was bringing in that coachability, if that's a word, and being able to go to sleep after I just assessed that I'm a bitch, or that I did bitchy things, or that I put myself first, or that I wasn't thinking of others, or I wasn't being kind, or I was being judgmental is a huge one for me. And we have an episode upcoming on judgmental too. I'm really excited about that one. And so I don't know how, maybe that's something that looks like the next morning for you. But in the very beginning, I did these daily assessments, and that was really important for me because I treated this like work, and the urgency of treating sobriety like work, because it is. It's an ass of work. It's the most work I've ever done. If you were to ask me my biggest accomplishment, it's my sobriety, period, point blank. It's a lot of work. Things get dark. It gets really difficult, but it's worth every ounce of work that I put into it. I couldn't even imagine living in that same brain that I used to live in. It was sick. It was grotesque. It was terrifying. And I was inches away from death. And the flip that I have made is something that I wouldn't trade for anything in my entire world ever, 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 ever. Thank you. So I reassessed too after my 30 days, after my 60 days, after my 90 days, after my 6 months, after my 9 months, coming up on a year. And I was going to do a reflection and, show you guys what I meant by that and what it looked like. But I'm not at my year yet. It's a week before. So I don't know. This is coming out a day after my 1 year. But it just kind of feels like, shit, I don't know if I should be doing that. So I'm not. But just assessing where I think I'm doing really well in some of these ideals and where maybe I'm tripping in just a little bit, or I'm getting caught in some old ways. And I think that looks different across our whole life. Sometimes I'm struggling with humility. Sometimes it's not a struggle at all. That's something that's very easy for me. I'm struggling with self-love sometimes. Sometimes that's not something I'm struggling with at all. It's a season of life. And I think looking at it that way is important. There never comes a point where we're all healed and everything's all of our shit's together. Maybe. And maybe I'm wrong with that. And I would love to meet that day. That would be fucking fantastic. But we're sick peoples, okay? And that goes for everyone. You've got something wrong with you. I'm sorry. Whether you're not an alcoholic, whether you are, whether you're just a piece of shit, whether you're not a piece of shit, whether you got your shit together or not, there are things that are wrong with you. And understanding that in such a human way that makes it fun, that makes learning exciting, learning about yourself exciting, and not punishment. I think that's hard for sobriety because a lot of sobriety can be punishment, and getting into sobriety for people can be punishment from their past life or what they've done wrong. I didn't go to rehab. I didn't go to treatment. I sounded my own alarm bells. So it was a little different for me. But if you are going into it in a punishment way, I think changing your look on that and being encouraging to yourself and viewing it in this more structured, enlightened way where you can remain curious and learning be fun again. And learning was fun for me. And not certain shit. Certain things I'm like, shut the fuck up. I absolutely hate it. Like somebody's explained, this isn't an example, but like when somebody explains a card game to you 50,000 fucking times, I'm just like, don't explain any card games to me, please, for the love of bejesus. To this day, do not, please. But learning in these certain aspects, like, I love learning about animals. I love learning about, murders. So, keeping it encouraging and fun in that way is important. I don't know how we got there, but I don't care. So reassessing your life in early sobriety, and maybe that looks like a week at a time. I think it's just a good standpoint to keep you on your shit because, sobriety is not about getting away from the drugs and alcohol. It is so much more than that to me. It's so much more than that to me. That slowly has become such the smallest part of it, but I'm still chasing after the sobriety thing with my life the way that I used to. But now I'm more comfortable being away from the alcohol. So it's just a lot different for me. And I think that really helps produce longevity. And that was another thing that brings me to another point, that the longevity I think was something that I wanted from the very beginning, because I told myself 1 year of sobriety, you have to hit that year. I also knew that might not be the case, that I put that as an aim for myself, but I'm like, yeah, right. Because there's still this alcoholic girl that exists. I'm talking to you from the growth side, from the healing, okay, rather, side of things. But, this alcoholic girl still existed. She wanted to turn her back. She wanted to go drink. She wanted to be a bitch. She wanted to be selfish. So it's not like as simple as me just, turning my head and choosing longevity and choosing this new life. I'm diseased. I'm sick as fuck. This was just... the urgency came into play, but understanding the longevity. And I remember writing, I'm taking my blanket off. Do y'all know that I always have a blanket on underneath this shit? I wanted that longevity. And I remember writing from the very beginning of my sobriety about longevity and what it meant for me to possess that. And longevity in my mental health. And I just, they say that you can just feel it. And I know I'm an alcoholic. It's something I know about myself. It's a fact to me. This is now a fact in my life. If I am drinking again, I am an active use alcoholic. I'm not just drinking again. I am an active use alcoholic. That's what, I know it. And I feel like I would know that even if I went back and got drunk too. And so I think aiming for longevity in your mental health too, and in your healing from these deep, grotesque scars that you may or may not possess is super important. And I urge you to look towards longevity and then what that means, because you're setting up for a sobriety that lasts you a lifetime. You're not setting up for a sobriety that lasts you a week. And I think that's to the flip of the brain, because people in active use and dealing with alcoholism, like myself at the time, things are very quick. Life is about feeling good. So it is a weekly situation. It is like, okay, I say I'm going to be sober this week, then I'm going to go back on it. And like that flip-flop. And I knew that was something that was going to just exhaust the fuck out of me and make things even more difficult and then more punishment-based. And it just wasn't going to work. And, my option was longevity there. And I wanted to accomplish something too. And I think that's important, to be able to want to make yourself proud after building your relationship with yourself. Sometimes it takes that. And understanding that, I'm not going to go back on my word. This is a situation of my life, hopefully forever. This is not something that I'm gonna be able to turn around and change and like go back on. Damn, can you repeat yourself for like the 30th time? Holy shit. So longevity, girls. And I think too, that brings me to another point of, I told myself, you have to do a month. Okay, you have to do 5 months. You have to do 2 months. You got to do 3 now. 4, 6. You have to hit these marks, is what I told myself, until it was socially acceptable for me to relapse. And in these great hopes in the back of my brain that I wouldn't actually relapse and that I would hit the spot where I healed enough that I would keep going. But I had this hope, if I hadn't healed enough, I'm going to relapse, which isn't healthy. And I'm not encouraging you to do that, but it was in the back of my brain. When is it socially acceptable that my sponsor would take me back, honestly, and that people in my life would accept it as me just having a bad day or having like a flaw versus, okay, you're already back on your bullshit. Okay, sure. And that's a pride thing. And, you know, maybe some of my ego and my pride fueled that. Fueled that fire, but it worked to my benefit, I think. And from the beginning, I told myself a year. And, you know, I knew, and I'm so glad that I did it this way, because now I was like, I just know, though, it's not going to be a year, because I'm going to hopefully have done enough work, done enough healing that I look back and that year have changed my life. But I need something in the future to work towards. And people don't count days. They don't count time. I don't think I'll ever be like that. Because it's also important for helping other people. So they know your time and they know that somebody else did it. X amount of this and X amount of that. And, you know, that's kind of more, recovery talk from the program. I'm going to talk about the program, but yeah. So I had my mind just framed like that. And I don't know if that's any type of advice that would help anyone in any way, but you know, now that I'm at the year, so glad I did that, because this is just the first year. It brings me tears in some ways, like not right now, but it brings me emotion. It makes me very emotional. Damn, like frame a sentence. Holy shit. That I made it to this year, and now I look towards the rest of my life, and this is the best gift that I have ever been given. And I was given this gift by other people. This wasn't me and my strength. This was a gift I was given. I did not have the willpower. I did. I barely had the willpower, though. Barely. And that's all it takes. And I've said that before, but all it takes is just a little tiny bit of willingness. And then other people have you on that journey. And that's a thing about sobriety people don't understand. You don't have to rely upon yourself. You eventually grow that within yourself, but you don't have to start that way. So yeah. And I think I recognized that early too, is that like, this doesn't have to be my own strength, my own willpower. And of course, asking for help is a pivotal thing too. And I think we'll do an episode, so I don't know if I'll touch on that today, but understanding what asking for help looks like, when to ask for help, and how useful of a tool that is. That transformed my life to understand I'm allowed to ask for help. Not only that, but when to. And I don't drown the same anymore that I used to. I still struggle with asking for help sometimes. I think I want to act like I've mastered that, but there are still times I'm like, oh my God. But if I start feeling freaked out or frazzled, I just know I'm like, it's time to turn to help. Like this, when things feel too big for me, and I never could amount that before because everything was too big, because I was suffering and I was mentally fucking ill. So everything was too big for me to handle. And we talked about that in the anxiety episode. No. But now I can feel when things get a little big for me. When maybe I can't fit the shoes that week, or I'm just struggling. And that's like a gift, and that you never have to think of yourself less. That should be obvious, but you never should think of yourself less for asking for help, because that's a great benefit. And it's a tool. And I think that successful people know when to ask for help. People that are successful in any facet. When I talk about success, it's of course in career and in future, but success is what this looks like. Being a year sober, that's success to me. And, that revolves around making yourself small enough to be big. Honestly, I feel like is what it is making myself small enough to ask for that help, just to be big, to make that a tool for me so that I can stay big in terms of being good and diligent with my work and being humble and having humility. And I talked about during my 9 months how important what being humble taught me, and sitting my ass down and shutting the fuck up. And that was something that was really important to me, and something that I wanted to look after, because I knew that those ideals would be what would make it easier for me to stop drinking. Not that of course I wanted those, but also I just knew that if you listen to other people in the rooms, they tell you that is the type of shit that keeps you from drinking. That right there, being humble is, if you can recognize your selfishness, so much other shit gets fixed, because you're like, oh my God, that's an awful trait. Like, I'm selfish as fuck in this way. Like, what? But I'm just hurt and I'm just broken, and that's okay. And that, I think that's what a lot of selfishness looks like, is broken and hurt people. Not necessarily always time with people with big ego, this big pride. It's people that are hurt, people that are broken the fuck down. And it's just like this tunnel vision on their own life and on sometimes staying alive. And so I think selfishness is like so much more than what we view it to be. but being humble in that aspect is what changed my life. And when I assessed my 9 months and looked back, it was like, wow, that humility really changed me. And putting myself second as much as possible, because I'm a selfish person, I have a selfish disease. And, as much as possible, aiming for that when it hurts and fitting into that box first and foremost, and trying to check that box of others coming first, and of being humble and understanding fully for the first time that person next to me is not of any less value. And you guys know I'm not scared to say shit on here because it's the truth. And I want you to know other people think it. I thought I was better than a lot of people. Sorry. So there are many people who think that. And I want you to know you're not alone in that. Because when I finally understood that too, that's what connected me with people. And what's the opposite of addiction? Unity. It's connection. And I say that a million times because it's important for me to hear. And that put up a roadblock between me and these other people when I didn't experience being humble. Because I think they could never understand me. They could never fathom even as close to what I'm going through. They're human. They have this magical universe that you have inside of you that can get twisted and can get dark, but this whole thing that you have, that other person has too. And understanding that to a next level is what changed my life and what allowed me to stay sober. First and foremost, that was a tool that allowed me to stay sober, let alone the goodness that it brought to my life, let alone the way it makes me feel, my mental health, to stay sober day in and day out. Because I'm putting others first, I'm not going to be drinking. And that was a tool that I utilized. And, that was something that grew, and it took a lot of time. Because we say these things, right? We say these things. We say we're going to learn this stuff. It's really difficult to grasp. It takes months on end of this hard work and of this diligent consciousness of being in your mind that you're combating these ideals that you as a sick person have. And you're combating them. And you're saying, no, that's not the way I think. That's not the way I operate. And I don't know when this pays off and this sucks, but I just know at some point I'm going to be very grateful that I did this. Because we have to have driving factors. It's not as simple as, oh, one day this might pay off, or, like I'm going to be good just because I'm supposed to. It's, sometimes we have that selfish driving factor behind it too. And I think I had a lot of that, honestly, of this is to my benefit. Helping other people is to my benefit. And it is. Selflessness is to some degree selfish, and not like actually, but I don't know how to word that, I guess, in a way, because it's the tool of helping other people and of staying small. Did I repeat myself 50 times? I don't know. Yeah, and I think the aim first and foremost was to be present in my life and body, and when that shit hurt, when every day felt like an open wound because I'm present and I'm there and I don't want to be. I don't want to be at all, at all. And it was definitely really painful. I think back to how painful it was, and just like some days just like, why are you doing this when you could just go be fixed? And that's my crazy diseased brain acting like I'm gonna go get fixed by this alcohol. And I just knew, I'm being told day in and day out, because I'm in the rooms every day, because I'm doing 90-90, that's not the answer. I'm seeing proof from other people who took that bait, who went and got drunk, and it wasn't the answer for them, and it never is the answer. And sticking to that and understanding that was helpful for me too. Is that like, you just got to stay present until the shit doesn't hurt anymore, until you're smiling again. And I just had this trust and this faith, because what came first in my life, of course, was not drinking. And then slowly what came first and what overshadowed even the drinking was this emotional growth. And that definitely helped me day in and day out. And I think recognizing too that good relationships have two things: communication and honesty. Good relationships have a lot of things. They have communication and they have honesty. That's what good relationships have. I'm building this relationship with myself that has no communication and no honesty. And I feel like opening the lines of communication within myself, and that goes along with the omniscient view on my life and on my disease and on my mental health. But it was just this new level that I had never experienced, where I'm like, I can't hide from myself anymore. And I can't hide that I'm continuously lying to her so much that I don't even know who I am. And that's what it is. I'm lying to myself so much that I think I'm one thing and I'm not. And that's from a lack of communication in my relationship with myself, and honesty in my relationship with myself. And honesty was something I always struggled with. And definitely, if you struggle with honesty, there's no way you're honest with yourself. It's very difficult to do. And I was stuck in this place where I could not even see that. And I think if you're looking to build your relationship within yourself, maybe you're a normie too, opening the lines of communication. And, what that looks like is different daily. But there was these check-ins and this mental, because she used to not shut the fuck up. That caused a lot of my disease. And that was in the last episode with anxiety. That caused a lot of my disease, is her not shutting the fuck up. And, opening the lines of communication with her and taking her in. And in some ways, the goal is to shut her the fuck up, but it's to understand her too. And to say, hey, you don't need to be heard. You don't have to constantly be heard. You don't have to constantly be right. You don't have to constantly be understood. You can do that within yourself. Let's open this line of communication and break this down to a different level. And I'm not going to get into I guess too much of that, because we have so many episodes of relationship with self and we have so many to come, but that would be a foundation for me and a building block for the rest of my relationship with sobriety. Because the relationship, at least for me in my alcoholism, the relationship with myself is my relationship to alcohol. I have to abuse and self-medicate, and I have to abuse something. I'm already abusing myself, but that's exactly what that relationship looks like. It's an exact view of what you feel on the inside. And when sobriety is hard, that's because things are hard on the inside. And when sobriety is great, it means you're doing great. And we have our back and forth, but I think it was a good indicator for me to see that it wasn't me doing poor in sobriety. It was me doing poor in my relationship with myself, or these ideals, or my mental health. Already an hour somehow. So I'll go over a few kind of questions too, in a way. I did not write out the podcast today, so I just kind of ended up going on some tangents of things that helped me in my 1 year that we're celebrating, which is just, honestly, I say it so simply, but it's absolutely fucking berserk. It is berserk to me. And I have a friend that I work with, and she told me the other day, and I still think about this, that she said that she never knew me not sober. I said, girl, bless you. You're blessed. Hey, you're blessed. Because what? I couldn't believe it. And it stuck in my head because I'm just it's beautiful the way that I just continued to grind and grind and grind from a girl that wasn't like that. The continual grind in this shit and not letting up. I didn't think I was capable of this when I stepped into it. This is something that happened as I grew and as I fucking listened to these wise older people, or just wise people in general. I listened to fucking everyone because other people are our teacher. And that's such a beautiful thing too, and that's everyone. That's not just people in the rooms, not just people in sobriety. Everyone is our teacher, and we have the opportunity to take it as that. And whether it's teaching us sometimes bad things, sometimes good things, who knows? But her saying that was fucking incredible to me, because I just did not think I would actually make it to a year, let alone, did I just almost eat my microphone? Sorry. Let alone it being something that I do want to pursue, hopefully for the rest of my life. But as Theo Vaughn says, and I love me some Theo, that, I can't make decisions for her in the future, but I can set her up for success. And that is my hope for my sobriety. And I'm just really proud. I genuinely am so beyond proud of myself. So I just can't believe that I'll be picking up a year chip. That is fucking awesome. That is some hard ass work right there. And that's fucking lit. It's fucking lit, dude. Okay. So now, what are some things that I have accomplished? Why am I putting this mic so close to my face? Some things that I have accomplished this year. And of course, obviously what I just talked about, being sober, is an accomplishment within itself. But because of sobriety, what are some accomplishments that I did that I would not have been able to do prior? First of all, I paid off my debts. I have zero debt aside from my car. Zero. I pay my car off every month. Zero. Girl, the fuck? Okay, and you know what? I'm going to be this transparent with y'all. I'm going to be to this level transparent, and this is an embarrassing thing, but I want this vulnerability to exist in this podcast. So if I embarrass myself, I embarrass myself. This is for you and for your understanding that you're not alone in this shit. I entered the program with a 510 credit score. I had fucked myself. My life was fucked up to the next level. And I had some bad things happen to me with my money too. And just some fucked up things happened in my past as well that really weighed me down. And it was a driving force for my drinking too. And, that financial relationship, we talked about it. Baddies have a financial relationship, and they have an understanding of what they want their future to look like, and keeping their children in mind too, which I know I sound crazy for this, but I keep them in mind. And I want them to have the opportunity to do whatever they want in this life. And and of course learn to work for their money, but I want them to have these opportunities that I was granted by my parents. And, that if push comes to shove and I don't find my mans, they can have that from just me on my own. And so when I entered the program, my credit score was 510 to 513. One of those numbers right there. Yeah. Yeah, girl. Yeah, girl. It was bad. I'm now hitting a 700. Well, I'm at I will be hitting a 700 by really soon. Okay. I'm on track for like a 700, which people are like, that's not even good. It is to me. That's incredible. I had to co-sign this apartment. And that's like that's me being really transparent. And I don't know if that's almost icky to be that transparent, but you're not alone. And you can pick yourself up from any financial battle too. And I want you to look at your responsibilities because that's your responsibility and that only you can fix that. Only you can fix that. And it's a bite size at a time. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed with all this shit. And that's what longevity looks like and what discipline looks like is never, ever giving up, no matter how hard things got for me, no matter how overwhelming. And that's what sobriety, a lot of sobriety is, and a lot of people struggle with, how overwhelming it is. And it truly is. It's truly overwhelming, but never giving up. And when things get too much like that, we ask for help and we take off a bite size at a time and we chew it. And we just keep chewing. And we're just like, fuck, dude, this sucks. And this is really hard right now. And I'm trying to chew every bite, but I'm just overwhelmed. And that's what finances look like too. But you fight and you continue going. Every day you wake up, every day you go through the same routine and you try again. Period. And that is what sobriety looks like, but that is what changing your life looks like. And when you build that in yourself, it is something that you'll never want to let go of. I would be sick to my stomach if I did not have something to work towards. And I don't know how I lived a life where I gave all that up. Anyways. So, damn, I keep going on these tangents, girl. I'm so sorry. But paying off debts. That was something that I did this year that I just is amazing of a milestone for me. And picking zero debt and picking up my credit now is just a spectacular thing. And that is something that I would not have been able to do without sobriety. And saving. I saved a lot of money. And people, that wasn't my goal. But people kept saying, like, you're probably saving a lot of money. And I'm like, I got a pair of tits, so I'm fine. I got a pair of tits, so I mean, I'm not paying for a ton of drinks anyways. I was still. But at the same time, that is kind of true. But when you're drinking every single day, like day in and day out. So anyways, I saved a lot of money and I'm going into the winter with a lot of money. And I feel weird. I'm not going to expose that type of number. I will expose my lows, but I'm not going to expose my highs. This is the most money I've ever had in my bank account ever. And in a way that I cannot worry about buying certain things. I go and get my lattes, but I also have discipline with my finances. Oh my God. If I used to talk about this shit, I keep getting myself in these circles, but it's the truth. Now I have discipline with my finances, but I'm able to go out and do things, to just go whenever and do shit. And that's a blessing. And, I'm not on this like constant, that is not something that's in my internal dialogue anymore. My finances are not weighing me down. There are moments where I'm like, oh, okay, so I may just the regular math of life, but it's not something that's weighing me down or fucking with my mental. And people don't realize how detrimental finances are. I remember when I was younger saying that, and this is part of me being sick and crazy. When I got older, I would kill myself if I didn't have money. And if I didn't make it, I would just kill myself. I understood that as a child. As a child, I understood that. And it's sickening. Finances are fucking sickening, but bad bitches have good finances. So anyways. That whole aspect of never having this much money in my bank account before, never having a credit score like this and only having my car to pay off is just like amazing. Such a freedom feeling. I think you should get sober on that alone, genuinely. And it is possible for you to fix it one step at a time, no matter how bad your credit is, no matter how little money you have, no matter if you don't have a house, you don't have a car, you don't have anything, a little bit at a time. It is so possible. And I definitely recommend putting that energy into it. And then, of course, 31 episodes into the podcast, which I would not have without sobriety, obviously. This podcast wasn't, I was going to start a podcast from a long time ago. I talked about with the Allie episode. Allie and I were going to have a podcast too. May she rest her soul. I've been missing her a lot lately. I always miss her though, but it's definitely been, I definitely feel her. I'll say that much. And so this podcast was going to be started a long time ago. And then there was different periods of my life that I wanted to start it. And then when I started, it happened to be revolving around my journey. And that's where I found my passion is being vulnerable with you guys and showing you that somebody's there for you. And this podcast would not exist without my sobriety. And the work it costs to put out a podcast every single week, let alone the views you're getting, has nothing to do with your ego, with your pride, about genuinely maybe potentially helping somebody else and proving to yourself that's what it is over and over, and doing that every single week. It has taught me so much about myself. We're going to be going into season 2 soon. I'm going to be having a photo shoot. I'm going to get a sweatshirt. We're going to maybe think about doing some shirts and some options. We've got a whole season 2 coming. I say we as if it's not just me, but whole season 2 coming. And it has taught me so much about myself and giving me such a purpose in my life. So if you've been part of this podcast, you've watched and you've listened to me, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it has truly changed me and it has given me so much in my life. I cannot be thankful enough for the Autopsy with Maddee P. Seriously. And then, yeah, of course we cannot overshadow my biggest accomplishment. The biggest accomplishment is my mental health. I hear the applause, the sarcastic applause. The mental health aspect of getting over my anxiety, getting over my depressions, understanding it's something that I'll face maybe later again in my life, but getting a hold of my mental health is the biggest accomplishment that I could not have without sobriety. And that is what I fight for my sobriety for my mental health, and for being in this state of consciousness that I am now and enjoying life thoroughly the way that I do now. And we don't have much time, but what I did want to talk about, oh yeah, and then I put on here, lost so much weight, skin glowing, period. I think I put period like as in I was actually I've been getting my period normalized, obviously. So also my reproductive system and my physique, my body too, and feeling good every day is just like not being hungover, not feeling like shit is an amazing feeling too. So this kind of didn't go the way that I was thinking. I was going to do more Q&A style, which I didn't kind of end up doing, but I will say a question that I had and I want to be answered, because we are going to be hitting an hour 15 here shortly, is when do you stop craving alcohol? When is alcohol not in your mind? And let me tell you, I think I'm coming up on the first time hitting a year where it hasn't even, like, I do not want it. I do not. And I mean that. And I'm not having these things in my brain, because I have these intrusive thoughts that we talk about that I've gotten under control, but I think it stems from my anxiety, stems from some type of OCD. And, you know, those slick thoughts where I'm healing and I'm doing really well, something about liquor, thinking about it, or in some way romanticizing it, or just in some way, just a thought. It's like when you're driving over a bridge and like, should I veer off the bridge? That type of suicidal, reckless behavior, and suicidal in terms of alcoholism, because that would just be me killing my alcoholism kamikaze style, which is what I guess relapse is. But I think coming up on a year is the first time that I really do not want it. It does not benefit me. I go out and I have fun with my friends and I have a great time doing that. And I do not question where the alcohol is at. I don't wish I could have it. And I don't wish like I was like everybody else. So I think, you know, that existed to me. And I asked that question, when is that going to stop? But it's the consistency. You know, eventually your life stops revolving around that question, because, you know, I'm an alcoholic. Alcohol will always be part of me, and I'm naive to think it's not. It will always be part of me in some way, shape, or form. It's a sickness that my body is shaking, but it's very difficult to shake. And I have to accept that I might have those thoughts from time to time, but the gifts that I'm given, measure, you know, put out a pros and cons list. What is the pros of alcohol? What are the cons? And you know what's funny about that too is I say that, but I think in my sixth state, that type of shit wouldn't even matter to me. The pro is that I get to be drunk, and that's the best pro. Who gives a fuck about the cons, you know? Like, or yeah. Like, what the fuck? And so I think that like combating that and just recognizing that that's something you're going to have to push past, and one day these great hopes that you will be met with it. And that's what makes part of sobriety dark, is wanting it and romanticizing it and thinking that one day you might get back to it. And that's not something I want in my life anymore, coming up on a year. And I say it started diminishing around 9 months. It started diminishing, but I still had these intrusive thoughts. And I haven't had one in a while, but I'm sure that it'll reoccur in me, because I'm an alcoholic and I can't be too naive on that type of stuff. So I'm sure that, you know, and my mental health, honestly. So I'm sure that those ideals might return and those intrusive thoughts. But that was something that was really scary for me. And I'm like, when do you stop fucking wanting it though? When does it fucking stop? And it does end. I think I have the same thoughts now with nicotine, and people tell me that it pretty much never ends. And that's kind of scary. So I understand fully where you're coming from. And that was really terrifying for me. When do I stop wanting it though? Because it's that dichotomy of the other prison of like, does that actually end? And it does. But you learn that the happier, healthier life is so much more worth it. And it's such a win to win against yourself and combat yourself is the greatest win that you and when you have that, when you experience it's something that you won't let go of and you won't want to let go of. It's such a win that's success in life. And that's something that's your driving factor for forever. So I don't know. I kind of wanted to address that question, and the answer is potentially never, but a year for me. But at the same time, it's like something that I don't want, but it can intrude my thoughts, and it's been a while, but yeah. And I gotta go. I got shit to do. But, and I didn't even answer pretty much half the questions that I wrote down for this, or half the episode, because we got into some other stuff. But if you want to talk more about kind of things like that, and it's so worth it. And looking back, like a month sounded insane to me, let alone a year. And now it just doesn't. I don't know. But and I put myself in people's shoes in a month, because that was absolutely terrorizing. A month of no alcohol sounds like such a long time. So you're not going to shake the feeling of wanting alcohol within that 1 month. But, the fight is so worth it. So I'm a year sober. I'm fucking awesome. I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm a year sober, and I just want to thank everyone as we will start to enter season 2 within the next few episodes, I'm guessing. I don't know, girl. I got a lot on my plate. Okay, I do this alone. So at some point we'll be entering season 2. We'll have a photo shoot. We'll have a rebrand. I don't know what the first shit was. But thank you guys for watching, and thank you anyone who has supported me in my 1 year of sobriety, which is literally everyone in my life. And if you're a part of my life, you have encouraged me to move forward, whether you know it or not. You've encouraged me in some way or another to move forward. And I love you endlessly, and I thank you immensely for the patience and the time that you all put into me, and especially the patience of a girl who was very, very sick and selfish and hurting. And it is more valuable to me, that patience and the second chance that a lot of people gave me is the most valuable thing, and the most valuable gift that I could ever ask for, and the best gift I've received is the second chance. And allowing yourself to see me through these new eyes and not holding my past against me. So thank you, and I love you, and have a good week. Bye.